Graphic design is my passion, Ori, and I am very passionate about this AOC slate that has opened up for us. GM.
Easy. Good morning. I love the graphic.
Yeah, I can work. I got to figure out how to the ideas. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, and we should probably talk about this late at some point. But like, I've got such good ideas for things that are like funny in a micro niche. Just how do I get that to an audience of like 25 or 30 instead of our audience of like a dozen folks? But yeah, we're doing our best. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to week 4. We had a week off last week, or rather, a week off from the show, but still played some DFS. Are still in the circles, and yeah, this is an interesting slate for sure. In that, we're coming off a week where Miami scored 1,000 points. I wonder if that gets people to change the way that they make lineups. Not necessarily. It seems like Miami's not getting owned that much, but it's going to be like people, going to be playing your Bears. They're going to be playing the Broncos. They're going to be jamming teammates, all that. But yeah, any thoughts on the slate macro?
Yeah, I mean the macro thoughts for me are, like last week, I was like basically sure that I'm winning $1 million. Like it's the easiest slate that there ever was, and this week I like everything. I mean, you point something out, and there's a chance that I like it, and so I think I have 0% chance to win this slate. So I'm probably gonna win $1 million.
Yeah, Don. There's a lot.
It's always the gross ones that take it home, right?
I agree, and it's not. Yeah, I mean, we have some elite values. It's just like a lot of tiers are flat and plentiful, and not because it's like gross, but because there's like usually there's 3 guys that we like, and there's like 6 or 8 at like the elite receivers. Maybe not 8, but like you know what I mean. So yeah, let's get into quarterback, which has not really decided much this year. I don't know. I don't know that it will today. I got this sorted by our adjusted value here, GM Willis, where like the chalk cash builds are either going to be Russ, maybe AR. I don't think people are going to really get up to Josh Allen. And then, there's the whole AOC thing. Like, I think AOC is going to be a big, conversation, more for GPPs, less for cash. But I think like you can do it. How do you feel? Let's talk Russ, because I think he's the guy that was on my placeholder. He was in the base optimal. I think he still is for now. Like if something else opens up, AOC probably goes in. You see, they're all tied for me in that top value. So, what are your thoughts on Russ specifically as it relates to that game against the Bears and GM?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too hand in the dirt, like, Russ has actually played really well this season as far as stats in fantasy football. Like that hasn't led to the Broncos winning, but like he is putting up 300-yard games. He's using his receivers. There's spike plays, all that stuff is happening. And the Chicago Bears have 1 sack, I think, on the season. And the Chicago Bears have 3 actual adult professional football players in their secondary, and they're all going to be observing the game as opposed to playing in the game. So I think Russ is a smash. The only risk with Russ here is that both teams are like, look, we're really, really bad. We're just going to play at the slowest pace imaginable, and we're both going to try and run, and we're going to keep the game super close, and just volume dies, which that is possible, but I'm playing Russ.
Yeah, I think unless something, Jalen Carter more sacks and QB hurries than the Bears team. Yeah, I think that's painful for Ori. I think Ori was a big Jalen Carter stan. Who'd you guys, was it Skoronski or was it the other? Oh no, it was the other lineman from.
Yeah. Which he's grading really well. He's doing really well. So I don't like the Jalen Carter stuff,
but yeah, Russ, I think, has like in the post Hackett era, like all of the Russ stats are very good, not as a real life quarterback, and it hasn't translated to wins on the football field, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I'm still fine playing Russ, even at 1,800 more than O'Connell. I think O'Connell. Let's talk quickly about O'Connell. We'll talk about him more in the game stuff, but like he's a statue. He's 25-year-old rookie. From Purdue, played in, Brian Brom and Jeff Brom were his coaches, like a spreadish offense. Like and he looked relatively good in the preseason. How much do I care about? Like, how much is that going to carry over? Like, in all likelihood, not much. But at 4K, I mean, he's projected for 15 points. It is like, to get 15 points, if you get 200 and one touchdown, is already 12 points. Again, I'm not going to be happy with 12. If you show up in cash, you can win with a 12 from O'Connell. In GPPs, you're probably looking for 18 to 20 and nobody to get over 30. So that's the O'Connell bet. It's more on the spot, right? I think people are mistaken if you think O'Connell is as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Jimmy Garoppolo hate is, definitely overstated. But I think O'Connell could keep you on schedule without having to do much. He's only projected for 15 and still is grading out well. But that's my quick O'Connell. You want to talk just I'll sort by price here. So I think like these are your three options for values, but then price. At the top, you got Josh Allen, in that game environment, Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert, even Lamar and, Tua. Like, these guys are not going to get owned. Josh Allen will, I think, a bit, but like, you're going to get Hurts at a really good ownership discount. Will they be pushed? Justin Herbert is actually probably not going to get owned a ton. And Tua, are you interested in any like spending up at quarterback? Any of these guys interest you?
As you know, I don't really play cash.
Yeah, more in GPP. Like pivot stuff,
in GPP, I have not made a Hertz lineup, and I'm terrified about that. Just because, I mean, look what Josh Allen, the Bills did last week to Washington, and blah blah blah, and Hertz just keeps getting there. I'm scared of Hertz. I am playing Josh Allen and Tua because, I mean, both teams put a beating on teams last week, and they have, I don't know. It just shocks me that all these players and all this firepower is not going to get owned, and I can go ahead and make a lineup that is not that gross. Like, the Tua doubles are very expensive, and the game has a lot of expensive parts, but the lineups are not as gross as you would think. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and like, you get the Buffalo tight end stuff, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to pay down for in that game, but there's, you can get on the Quentin Johnston, things like that. So yeah, like, I think Tua is going to come in under own. I kind of like playing Herbert as well. Running back, Kyren Williams, I don't want to say is a free square because 6K is pretty expensive, and Kyren Williams is extremely jag, and we already saw on Monday night exactly what will happen for a Kyren Williams chalk game. But the role is insane and the spot is pretty decent, so he's grading out super well. Christian McCaffrey at 9,200 I thought was going to be lower owned until the O'Connell stuff opened things up, and I think people are really, like, with Eli Mitchell out, people are really starting to prioritize, like, if CMC gets 90 to 100% of this backfield, it's going to look good. And then there's a bunch of guys in that 5 to 6K range. I'm not in love with any of them, but what are your thoughts on, first, not necessarily for cash, but like in GPPs, how good do you feel about playing Kyren and CMC as chalk?
I feel real good. I'm not sure you want to show up in your cash matchups without those two guys.
Oh, for sure.
I think you have to have them.
Yeah.
Kyron's volume is just insane. And then, Indianapolis defense is nothing like, the Bengals last week, who played really well and stuff like that. Like, just that usage is crazy. And if Elijah Mitchell's going to be out, you're not going to want to show up without CMC.
Yeah. Yep. Do you have a favorite of this 5K range? So do we like Tony P? We'll talk about Tony P. But of this like 5 to 6K range, so Javonte, obviously in that Bears matchup, Rachaad White, it's not a good matchup, but he's got not necessarily the Kyren role, but like not far from it. Madison, I don't think either of us love, even though, the Vikings total is high. Miles Sanders' role has been very good. Then you have guys like Josh Kelly as well. Do you have a favorite, under 6K? And don't say Khalil Herbert. We can talk about him after. Of the like second tier chalk, like, do you have one that stands out to you?
No, I really I really don't. I can tell you this: I do not like Javonte Williams. The
Yeah,
Bears defense is mediocre to okay-ish against the run, and they're so bad against the pass. I just don't know why I don't know why Javonte would suddenly smash or get more volume, and it doesn't make sense to me from a play calling standpoint.
yeah. I'm with you there. I think like people are excited to play Javante. He's obviously a relatively highly touted guy. Like he showed a good bit as a rookie, but he's still coming off the injury, and they've really managed the workload. So I think that Javante, his snap count is like 40 to 50%, and I don't think that's going to change. Like even though this is a good matchup potentially,
Right.
right? They're projected to score 25 points. Why would they use Javante more in a good matchup? Why wouldn't they see what they have in Jaleel McLaughlin in this good matchup and like see if Pete Ryan is actually dust or not? So like if Javante was low owned, great. But I'm with you. Like I think he's got a cap on his touches. So I think if you get like he can get there in 15 touches, but I don't think you're gonna run into this like the Broncos score 50. I mean, they're not going to like the Broncos score 30 and they ride. I don't think they're going to ride Javante. I think you're going to be getting there on efficiency, and I'd rather chase like a Miles Sanders game where I think he's going to come in the lowest owned of this bunch, and he's on pace for a bunch of catches and targets. They like that was
I,
an off-season thing, and like it's actually come true. No one's talking about it.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And Minnesota's defense, we all know how bad they are. So, I am scared of Miles. The injury thing kind of concerned me, if Chuba's going to play a little more. But I would like to change my answer. Two guys that you didn't mention that I had to scroll down real quick. But
Yeah,
I do think Najee Harris is just fine to play today, to be different. He's not
I
going
do
to be
agree.
owned. Their defense, it's a good spot. I know nobody likes Najee. And then DeAndre Swift. I mean, I don't like that 15% ownership, but in terms of, you can build a leveraged lineup, use that. I think that he's okay in that price range.
Yeah, no, I don't love the Najee. Like I don't love the Najee talent, but again, like if this could be a decent matchup, obviously against Houston, and he's been objectively better than Jalen Warren, especially as a runner so far. So I do think inevitably, like he will continue to lose work. I don't know that this is the week. So like at 3%, pinch your nose. Can you tell me Khalil Herbert versus Roshan? My read is if I'm just playing a one-off, I want Herbert. If I'm playing Russ, I want Roshan. Do you agree? Disagree? Thoughts on the
Yeah,
play?
I think that that's a decent way to look at it. The way I'm playing it is just as a salary relief. I'm using one or the other, and usually I have them both. Like I have the exact same lineup with Khalil and the exact same lineup with Roshan
Yeah,
when I go that route.
first.
My read on it is Herbert is still the starter, and Herbert's usage took a hit last week because the game was 100-0 in the first quarter, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
And, I do think Herbert still commands the lead share. Now, he did fumble. I don't think our coach is one of those guys to, suddenly sit him down. But, they sat Chase Claypool down for this game.
yeah,
Who knows? Like, what if Rojo is, gets the starting nod? They have to make changes and stuff. So I am scared of that. But Herbert being the cheaper back makes zero sense and makes him the better play on paper
yeah.
until
And
we know
then
more.
yeah, and we'll talk more about it. But like, it's so deep. Like, we didn't even talk about DeAndre Swift, who potentially is under projected in this spot in that same price range. You have Kamara coming back, so like you have a lot of options here. So that's the only thing that keeps me timid-ish on Kyron is that one of these guys is probably going to beat him. It's just going to be really tough to feel confident about um, who it's going to be.
Yeah.
GM2. Yeah. All right. Receiver. Um,
Yeah.
we had Devontae Adams all the way up. He went from like 22 projection to 19 or so with AOC in. So that's, he went out of cash and now he's probably the lowest one of this bunch. But you've got a bunch of guys projecting like in like my top tier where it's, Keenan and Chase are going to be owned. Puka Nakua is going to be owned. Um, Tyreek, man, I don't think people are clicking all the way up to Tyreek. But anyway, I think cash is going to be Keenan, Thielen, Palmer. Um, and then, fourth, which whoever fits. Like I've got Nakua right now. Some people like Chase. So cash aside, of these chalky bunch, like at these, 20% plus, is there anyone here you love and or hate on either end?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for sure playing Keenan. I might have him locked without even realizing that I have him locked, but I don't understand Keenan's path to failing on this slate. I guess I will in like
Yeah, you'll find out in
9 hours.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Keenan's total smash. Chase, I'm terrified of, but you know, I was expecting Chase to be a lot higher owned just with that Tennessee funnel defense and him under 8K and what he did last week and stuff. And, I was prepared to just fully fade Chase because of that. But I think Chase is a decent play.
Yeah.
I'm not as much in on Thielen with Bryce as quarterback, though the last time Bryce was quarterback is when Thielen started to break out before going
Right.
crazy against Seattle. So, I don't hate it. The one thing I will bring up is, I'm a fan of Dink and Establish a Million. And when they talk about bad chalk and what makes bad chalk, like Josh Palmer, like do not
Yeah.
show up with Josh Palmer in your tournaments and stuff like that. I mean, if you want to play him in cash, whatever, I don't care. But he is chalk purely because of price and not because of talent or really opportunity. Like as Dink mentioned, he was already playing 75% of snaps or running 75% route.
Yeah.
So this is not that big of a bump, and he also is still terrible. Now, don't get me wrong, like he can go put up 10 points, whatever. I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's no ceiling to unlock here to my knowledge, especially with an AOC led Raider team. So
Yeah.
I do not like Palmer at all.
Yeah. I think Palmer, like if I had to choose one between Palmer and Thielen of the guys I'm not excited about showing up in chalk with chalk, like I'm almost more okay with Thielen. I keep wanting to tout the revenge game narrative. But I do think like it's kind of real. And we talk about like rookie quarterbacks like leaning on their tight ends. I don't think that that's really a thing anymore because tight ends are just so freaking bad. It's like Adam Thielen is the tight end. Like when you're talking about like tired narratives from 5 years ago, like Adam Thielen is running those routes, right? So if like Bryce
Right.
Young and like I don't have the stats in front of me, but people are touting like this first read percentage. Like a rookie quarterback is going to lean on that first read more. And like I like DJ Chark as a pivot, but I think Thielen at 4,500 is very, very reasonably priced to be chalky, and I think he can get there like much more often than Palmer. But then you have guys like Tank Dell and whatever. So that aside, high price. So obviously Keenan's going to be giga chalk. I think Chase has some coverage because people are going to be playing the Raiders Chargers game stack. But we didn't even talk about Tyreek and Diggs. They're so expensive, and it's a 53 total, and people are like, myself included, like I'm talking about Chargers Raiders as the best game on the slate, whereas Dolphins Bills has a 53.5 total, and no one's really going all the way up there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And making Tyreek, Steph, Waddle lineups is a lot of fun. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So like Tyreek is a 9,200 project for 23.5. CMC 23, 9,200 and 24.9. So that's a decision. And like, if you can find a way to play them both, that might be interesting too. AOC, probably opens up things like that. And then again, Justin Jefferson. So one thing I will note, obviously Tyreek and Justin Jefferson probably like, well, CMC is number one, but like these are the, second and third or first and third best players in fantasy. Probably the two best ceilings in, for DraftKings, but they're both on the road, right? Does that matter? Like, I think like Miami has a huge September home field advantage. Justin Jefferson, it's not Jefferson per se, it's Kirk Cousins and what he's able to do in the dome versus on the road. I don't think Carolina is going to provide much resistance, but yeah, 9,600 is not a place people are trying to click here.
Yeah, are we worried at all about like drama in Minnesota? Wasn't there some Jefferson is mad with Cousins? Is there a squeaky wheel narrative here?
I mean, he's
I'm
only
really
gotten
not getting to
27.
Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson has only gotten 150, 159, and 149 yards this year.
So he
So
needs more, right?
yeah, yeah. If you give him
The man wants more.
scheme him some more targets. Yeah, the guy averaging over 150 yards per game through 3 weeks probably has actually room for his stats to grow because he's only scored one touchdown. So yeah, that's kind of crazy, and he's going to be 7%. So I really like that.
Easy.
Tight
Let's
end.
hold on. Go
All right, I'm
back one
holding,
second.
holding, holding, holding. DJ
We got
Moore.
to talk about 5K receivers, dude.
All right. Yeah,
No,
it's an
we don't.
invisible
We can
spot.
talk about it during the games.
No, it's an invisible
George,
spot for me. I think that's a good.
13% George Pickens is not a real thing. That's not happening, and he's a great play today. I like George Pickens a lot. I like Tutu. I like T Higgins. Like there's some really good like
Yeah,
leverage dudes that are not going to be owned in the mid range, and like the builds all lead you to the Allen, Keenan and Chase
yep,
and those kinds of things, and paying down. So there could be some value in that 5K ish range, and we'll talk
yeah.
about it in the games because I
No, I
can only
mean,
see a few names here.
yeah, you're totally right. It's a blind spot because I think the default it's going to be stars and scrubs, and I don't like these 4K guys aren't total scrubs. Um, but the pricing dynamics, um, make it seem that way. So yeah, the 5K range is going to be like all yours. Plus, it's like leverage ish off of the running backs that we talked about in the first pod that are 5,500. Tight end, tight end obviously has been very bad this year. That's been beaten to death. And it's showing up very flat here. Like Zach Ertz, dude, nobody clicks Zach Ertz. Like I don't care. Um, like I don't think he's going to be 12%. Nobody really wants Zach Ertz. And then Kittle thing is interesting. It just depends on like who's healthy in San Francisco. It seems like Ayuk is healthy and playing. Debo is not 100%. We're probably going to play, so he's not going to be high on. Fryermuth is going to be chalk, so that's an easy avoid. As much as I love him, is it? Do you have any standout thoughts at tight end?
I do not. All the talk I hear is that Tanner Hudson is like a meme play, and people are like, "Oh, just play Tanner Hudson, ha ha ha, lol." But I'm over here like, okay, I have almost 100% Tanner Hudson, just
Ooh,
because I mean he's 2,500 and is going to have a real opportunity against the pass falling defense. I don't understand why you don't go Stoneman here and just move on and make sex lineups.
yeah. No, I think that's very reasonable. And I made like if you want to play that CMC and Justin Jefferson or CMC Tyreek thing, like Tanner Hudson makes that work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he like only got 4 targets, whatever, last week, but I think like 4 targets is perfectly fine, and you're just betting on none of these guys separating. So yeah, I think like in cash or whatever, like tight end, similar to DST, it's just like last man in, whoever fits. Like I
Right.
guess Fryermuth is like maybe the guy you feel best about. With Deontay out, like targets funneling a little bit more there, but the Buffalo guys 31, 3,200. I think like, dude, like Chig versus Dawson Knox, like I don't know, like who cares? Um,
Yeah, I'm just making those decisions based on my lineup. If
yeah,
Knox works in my lineup, if I've got something going there, I use Knox. But my default is Tanner Hudson, and then move up if I have the room or if it makes sense.
yeah. No, I agree. And I think Ertz, I'm going to probably play. Like I'm not expecting him to be 12%. I think some of these other guys are gonna get owned a little more, and I'm good with Tanner Hudson. Dallas Goddard, by the way, is like totally invisible because again, like maybe people play Kittle, and I think most of the guys are playing, 31, 3,400. And Dallas Goddard, we talk about like Dallas Goddard. I don't know why he was valued as high as he was. He like clearly he's very, very far from an alpha, especially on an offense that already has kind of 3 alphas, including Jalen Hurts himself, and maybe even DeAndre Swift if you want to make it 4. Goddard at 44, like only 1K more from Goddard versus Freiermuth, and you're going to get so much less ownership, I think is pretty reasonable on a slate that has a lot of value too.
Yeah, the problem is that he's invisible to his quarterback as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that hurts him. The Eagles' issue
Calvin
is they're
Ridley revenge
scoring.
touchdown.
They're scoring with a passing touchdown from over 20 yards away, and that's not Dallas Goedert. Or if they're inside the 20, they're going to run it in 100% of the time. So, like, I mean, that's just a huge chunk for an expensive tight end to be missing.
Tanner Hudson splits snaps with 2 other tight ends. Newsflash, I think every tight end splits snaps with like 2 other tight ends.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? You guys are supposed to be the voice of reason. Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to tout Tanner Hudson as much as I'm here to tout the 2,500, like the only 2,500 tight end who is playable.
On a slate where tight end is not popping. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing on this sheet that scares me. Like, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, Tanner Hudson ran 59% of routes on Monday compared to 24 for Wilcox and 22 for Sample. So, I mean, he splits, but I think he's the primary route runner. Again, like I'm kind of playing Hudson to get 6 points, and then Zach Ertz
Yeah,
gets
3 for 30, 3 for 30, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it doesn't take much. I have defense sorted by points here just to kind of illustrate. Cleveland seems to be popping the most at 2,800, and they're one of the best raw projections. Obviously, Lamar is prone to giving the ball up, and Cleveland defense has been very good, but Eagles defense is like kind of opened up a little bit because of all this value. Anything you like here on defense that you want to talk about?
I'm not gonna lie, Easy. When I first saw the slate come out, I clicked the Browns, and I've continued to do that until this very moment, and I haven't even looked at another because I think the Browns are the number 1 defense in the NFL. I think the Ravens' offense stinks and their quarterback stinks, and they're under 3K. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have options, right? Like if you're going with a really chalk roster construction, like I think the Colts at 2,900, like the Colts actually have like a pretty decent pass rush, and they're at home and facing a lot of attempts from Matt Stafford. I think is a good spot. Chargers at home, they're missing a bunch of guys, which is kind of why we're talking about O'Connell in the way that we are. But again, O'Connell's objectively probably not good 25-year-old rookie making his debut. Not necessarily hostile quarters over there and wherever the Chargers play, but
I think the Panthers interest me. It's a little sneaky, 2,500.
Yeah,
I don't know what the ownership is.
Early in the week before some value opened up, I actually had Panthers in my cash game. I think Cleveland is a much surer spot. But again, we're talking about home team facing likely a lot of pass attempts against a quarterback that is happy to give the ball up. I still kind of like the Panthers here, and they're going to be low on. So there's like plenty of ways to go. Like all the way up to the Eagles, I think is good. Ravens on the road. Deshaun seems like he's likely going to play, but if he's banged up and he's giving up a lot of turnovers, so I think Cleveland, like in my sim stuff that I've been running, like I've been getting actually a good amount of Cleveland above the field, but also I'm getting Eagles and then fairly split. I think you just like defense and tight end are obviously the last 2 positions in evergreen advice. You ready?
Let's go.
Miami Buffalo, 53.5 total. Buffalo at home, 3-point favorites. Despite all of that, nobody's really chalk. So I think like you can play whoever you want. So you tell me about the Tua doubles.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few Tua doubles that are not as gross as you might think they would be. And you can't bring the double back with Diggs. I'm pretty sure that's where I stumbled.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was on the Josh Allen side, but yeah, no, I like Tua doubles with Gabe or Dawson Knox on the other side. I do not like the Miami running backs in this game, which is weird after what happened last week because the field seems to also not like the Miami running backs, which means we probably are underplaying the Miami running backs.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys
But
combined for literally 8 touchdowns a week ago, and they are 5% owned today. It's probably good, but I also am not clicking them. So
yeah, for what it's worth, I don't think a Chan or whatever. I mean,
yeah,
now that he's priced at 5,700, like,
no, it's hard. It's a
he
hard
still
click.
doesn't have a
He's
role
got to beat
for that
DeAndre
type
Swift.
of
He's
a
got to beat all
price.
those guys. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just so the only one that's actually a question that probably should get played is Mostert, but at
yeah,
6,500, that's really gross click.
yeah. I might force myself to play some Mostert. I think obviously two like the hand and dirt is Vic Fangio's defense is not good, but they're very much like a keep the ball in front of them type defense. And Josh Allen, like gunslinger Josh Allen, I've seen this. Like I'm borrowing some of this from JM, but like Josh Allen, the gunslinger, has been more of like check down type. So this is actually kind of playing into they want Josh Allen to be a little more reasonable, taking care of the ball, taking care of himself. He can't help himself, but yeah, I think I can see a lot of underneath volume, and I really like Diggs and probably the tight ends here. So I like playing
Yeah.
both sides of it. I think Josh Allen at 10, 11, 12% is like very fine. In this game, like obviously you can blow the doors off and like Tyreek gets there in a way that no one else does. So I think I do like this more than the ownership is going to get there.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Carolina, 46 and a half total is actually, pretty high considering that Carolina's at home. Maybe this would have been like 48 plus in the dome. Thiel's going to be owned. Not a whole lot else is going to be owned here. Miles Sanders, questionable DNP some practice. It seems like he's very probable. Anything you like here besides, sneaking in Jefferson or, Panthers defense?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really finding myself too much on this game. I am a little bit concerned about Thielen because of all the reasons you mentioned earlier. He is the tight end. He is the valve. He's, the dude that's just always open where he's supposed to be. And he's one of the first reads for Bryce. So, if Bryce can see over his line and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like Thielen could be a PPR hog. Now, that being said, I think his ceiling is not there without Andy Dalton. Not that Andy Dalton's great, but he's an NFL quarterback,
Yeah.
and stuff
No,
like that.
Thielen's not
So
getting the 35 points he got last week, but I mean, he got 20 against the Saints, with Bryce Young. I think that's very much in play, 7 for 50 and a touchdown.
yeah, I am
It's
concerned about Madison because he's under 6K. He's failed in spectacular fashion on, island games and stuff like that. But, maybe bringing Akers in, Akers active, lights a fire under his ass. And Carolina's defense gave up a couple touchdowns on the ground to Tony Jones, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's just like I can see a world where Madison falls into the end zone for 2 touchdowns. I don't want to live in that world and I'm not playing it, but I
Yeah.
am concerned about it.
Yeah. It's a hot topic in Discord, but yeah, Madison, like I've been playing a bunch of Madison, like the role has been great, but every week we keep getting more and more like little snippets about how the role is going to be less great. And
Yeah.
obviously then they trade for Akers. He had the like very infamously, the fumbles and then the hate speech stuff in his DMs, and then he fumbled one at the goal line last week that they ended up overturning and saying like forward progress. So like I don't
That
know,
was
like
a
two
fumble.
coaches.
He has 3 career fumbles and they all took place in the last 2 games. Like,
Yeah. So like, is he like coaches? All right, hand in dirt. Like it's not a fumble on the stat sheet, but like on film, that's a fumble. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
right.
you're losing confidence in Alexander Madison fumbling at the goal line, even if the referee says it was forward progress. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
his
like we
coach
talked
said
about.
it out loud.
Yeah. So it's the opposite of like the Zach Moss thing a couple of weeks ago where Zach Moss was projected for 12 points and Deion Jackson was projected for 8. Here, Leone has Madison for 50, almost 16, Ty Chandler for 3, and Cam Akers for, I don't know, 1 or 2. So I'd say this backfield has 20 points available, I think it might be like a 12-8 split. Like I think Madison has a lot of downside here. Like he has upside if he
Yeah.
scores, but he's been getting receiving work, and I think like that's going to continue to go away. Go Chandler's way. And they might not even need to pass to him much. So I'm really not in on Madison here. I'm more into Miles Sanders, and I actually had it pulled up. Um, he's gotten 6, 5, and 9 targets on the year. And if we're not in love with Bryce Young, like I think Miles Sanders like gets a lot of targets. So I like that. And then DJ Chark as leverage off of Josh Palmer for the price thing, and then also off of Adam Thielen at 1%. And I think he led the Panthers in air yards and was like up there in like air yard share or whatever made up stupid stat people like to talk about.
I would have so much Shark Week
If
if
it was
Andy was
Thielen.
the quarterback.
Yeah. Is there any confirmed reporting on Akers, or are we just assuming? Yeah, that's just me IKBing. Like I don't think I'm
There's
thinking
confirmed reporting
probably
he's going to be active.
yeah. I'm just thinking range of outcome stuff where Leone is projecting it seems like an 80% backfield for Madison, where I think that there's like, I don't know, 10 or 20% chance it's like 50-50, which just weighs it down for me. So that's just somewhere that I'm IKBing. Like I think Madison, there's a lot of outs to Madison fucks one thing up, whether it's a block, whether it's missing a hole, whether it's fumbling. He just has like so many outs to things going negative, I think. But it's
Yeah.
just that might just be a narrative I made up to support my priors.
You would never do that easy.
Yeah. Denver, Chicago, 46.5 total is tied for third on the slate. Denver, 3.5 favorites. On the road here, offenses nobody's excited about, but defenses people are excited to play against. So, we talked about Javonte. I think you'll be able to sneak anyone else you want from this game. Russ Wilson's ownership looked like it was going to be pretty high. It's going to be coming down. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where they teach you in DFS to, it's one of the disadvantages of being a hand in the dirt bro that the nerds with their stats and their spreadsheets have over you, which is they just see numbers on a sheet where you and I see players that fucking stink, like are really bad. And, and like 3 games is a very small sample size. And, we've seen Russ be able to explode and perform. It hasn't led to wins. We've seen in the past Justin Fields go absolutely nuclear. Obviously we're going to like a year ago, but, as bad as these defenses are, like it's gross, but I think you have to play some of it because like, what if, I do think that the answer to Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, I think that answer is going in the very, very large field stuff. I think one of those guys is going to matter.
Yeah.
That's one of my takes on it. And then, Broncos beat reporters are not the most reliable source is what I hear on the street. So there's this narrative that Mims is going to actually play more than 3 snaps a game.
Yeah.
I think he's averaging 3 snaps for 250 yards or something.
Right.
So if he gets more of a work share, and again, the Bears don't have a secondary. And then the last thing I'll bring up, the last 2 things, you guys know I'm a DJ Moore guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have zero DJ Moore. I respect Surtain. I'm not going. No. I'm playing him with one of the running backs, or the Broncos' other secondary guys are not great. So I do think that Tyler Scott, anyone? Chase Claypool inactive?
No, we're not doing
that. I wouldn't do that. But I do think it's fun stuff, probably for like sportsbook betting if there's lines posted.
Yeah, I don't think there's Tyler Scott lines. Like I think Komet, like he's going to be literally 0.5% owned, if that. I think like the field steam has quieted, and I like the Marvin Mims call for sure. Again, that 4K price pivot, it's going to be something I'm talking about a lot. Sutton, like if your
favorite narrative is the Bears pass less than 20 times and they run a lot and stay in the game, and Russ passes a lot and the game is close via that narrative.
Yeah. I think that's like probably fairly likely to happen. Sutton versus Judy, they're obviously like little different prices. Judy's not been Like, I don't know if he's like less than 100% or he's just like not really able to separate, from Sutton. Do you have a lean Sutton versus Judy if you were playing the Russ stack? Or are you more on just like, fuck it, give me Marvin Mims?
I'm slightly embarrassed to admit it, but I have a lot of Mims. Like I
Yeah.
like Mims a lot here, but I do think Judy at 1% owned at a price tag that is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm playing quite a bit of Judy, but I'm playing Sutton too. I do lean Judy over Sutton just because of the ownership difference and the ceiling
Yeah.
difference.
I think that makes sense. I mean, Sutton's gotten like a whole lot of targets. But yeah, I think at some point Judy is going to flip that. This seems like a good weekend. And again, I like Marvin Mims as well. This is a catch me up game. Baltimore, Cleveland, Cleveland defense. I mean, everyone here is single digit own, like any interest on either side of the ball or on the
Yeah,
offensive side of either.
Monday and Tuesday, I was very interested in taking more blood money off of Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, because Baltimore's defense secondary is real banged up. But now that Deshaun is like banged up too and stuff like that, I've gotten off of that.
Yeah.
So I'm just finding myself nowhere. And then on the Baltimore, Zay Flowers, I don't think he matches up very well with the style that Cleveland's defense and secondary plays. Like I have zero. I have zero in this game.
Yeah.
I have an
56
early
underrated.
pick'em that involves Amari and Deshaun that I hate because I bet
Yeah.
it very early. But yeah, for
Good luck.
DFS, I'm out on this game outside of Cleveland's defense.
Yeah. Deshaun definitely gets there more often than 1% of the time. I just am not going to live long enough to like get there on that.
Yeah.
Lamar, though, like again, like this is a really bad matchup. I get it. I guess like is 30 points from Lamar going to be enough? Probably not. And is Lamar going to get 40? Yeah. All right. I just talked myself out of it.
Yeah,
We have to
that is the answer right there. I don't
we have to
see him
keep it.
getting
We
30,
have to
but
keep
maybe he
each
gets
other honest,
30.
though. We have to keep each
Yeah.
other honest. Like Lamar
Yeah.
is a guy you just play at 1%, whatever.
Yeah.
But
But I think you're looking at 30, and that's just not
yeah,
good enough.
yeah, no, I agree. Pittsburgh, Houston, 42 total is actually like not that bad. Sneakily little dome game here. Tank Dell is going to be fairly owned. You got Fryermuth, you got maybe some Pittsburgh passing stuff, but not a whole lot super interesting here. You can sneak Damian Pierce by the field for sure. Talk to me about Damian Pierce or whoever.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Pierce 5100, like as a stan, I'm interested in that, but I feel like I've learned my lesson at this point that having 5 offensive linemen backups is just not good for your running back.
Yeah.
And then Najee Harris we talked about, he's really good leverage play. Like he definitely is underpriced for what his role and stuff is, but at the end of this is another case where the spreadsheet bro has the advantage over the hand in the dirt bro. Like 0 yards before contact. That is the average distance Najee travels.
Yeah.
Which is not an indictment of Najee. It's just that they can't create any holes.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the week they can because Houston's defense kind of stinks. But I do think that I like their coach and I do think their scheme is okay. They're just missing talent at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think Kenny Pickett's stuff is interesting in terms of, being different on a slate.
Yeah, like at some point I was actually getting Pickett stacks as like Jimmy G leverage. Obviously, that's no longer a thing. But yeah, like paying up $1,000 Pickett versus AOC, and if he beats him by a couple of points, which he often
the only thing
kind of matters.
The only thing I really have here in a few spots is some George Pickens minis. I don't buy that ownership on Pickens. I think he comes in under double digits. And, you put him across from Tank or Woods or Collins. I mean, those guys are fine too,
Yeah.
Woods has a similar role, just not the production that Tank Dell has in terms of usage and volume. Yeah, I think that's fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob Woods is going to get you 8 to 12 points on his 6 to 9 targets, and you're not going to feel good about it, but you won't feel bad about it, but you probably should feel bad about it. And Nico Collins invisible. So like, I actually kind of like this, like
You
in a
gotta
big
rep
field.
those.
So keep the light on for that. Rams at Colts, 45 and a half total. Sneaky pace up game, obviously in the dome. Anthony Richardson making his return, Kieran Williams and Puka Nakua. The show goes on for at least one more week. I think Cooper Cup, like, I want to start there. Interestingly, where like I think like I really like the spot, and like so does everyone for Puka. But I think this is like one more week of like Cooper Cup is coming back soon. Like, do we have two hymns type thing? So I'm playing a little bit of narrative there and selling myself on Puka more. Is there anything you like on the Colts side of this first?
Um, as bringbacks. So you set me up improperly. My favorite game of the day is this game,
Oh,
and I'm firing up some Matt Stafford doubles, baby.
has
This is
Stafford
the
thrown a
week. I mean,
touchdown yet?
he's slinging. The dude
He
is
did throw a
slinging the
touchdown.
ball. The problem is he's not throwing touchdowns, right? But
Yeah.
what if today, easy, what if today's the day Matthew Stafford goes 303? Is that a problem for people that don't have Stafford? 303?
Um,
I think it's a
let's do the
problem.
math. Yeah,
It could be a problem.
that's like 27.
Now, I love the Stafford doubles this week. I love playing Tutu.
Yeah, I think Tutu's
You know,
invisible too.
yeah,
Maybe not
exactly. He's
too.
in that mid 5,000 range that nobody is going to play, and he has the ceiling. And the Colts defense is, pretty bad. The only thing I'm rooting for here is that, A-Rich can not be a pumpkin and can do like A-Rich things to keep this, because the pace is, astronomical. And, I love bringing it back with either Granson or Downs. And sometimes Moss. Moss is kind of gross because the way I look at it is
Mm-hmm.
the only way for the Colts to stay in this game and to keep the pace up and to keep this thing popping its team total is if A-Rich plays well. And if A-Rich
Yeah.
plays well, that probably means Moss has his volume but not efficiency or something. That's just what I'm kind of telling myself. But I like Stafford doubles with specifically Tutu and Puka. And I like doing Kyron with Stafford and
Yeah.
one of the receivers as well.
Yeah. I like that too.
And it's my favorite game. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Moss obviously has like a huge line share of this backfield. I'm with Anthony Richardson back, the efficiency might be up, but his like touch share is going to be less, right? So like if he got 30 carries last week or whatever it was, that game went to, not only did it go to overtime, it went to like the last minute of overtime, so you get a whole bunch extra there, and B, Gardner Minshew is not stealing many carries, so I think like Moss's efficiency like might go up with like increased running lanes. But I think Anthony Richardson, he's not Jalen Hurts, but he does steal some goal line stuff too. So like I'm not super interested in Zach Moss at chalk. Like the role is good, but I don't think they want to be playing Moss every single snap, and I think he can lose some work to A-Rich. But yeah, the Ram side is very interesting, and I was not really into Stafford. I'm not a huge fan of the ceiling there. Like I think the game that you're describing, he gets you 30 points, and that's actually that'd be very good. If you told me I get 30 points from Stafford, I'd probably play like a whole bunch of them. But yeah, like how much of Stafford's upside can you capture just by playing the guys? Like maybe I might. I know you're not a big A-Rich guy, but I kind of like the idea of like A-Rich naked or just like with one guy, and you could play 2 or even 3 Rams with that. I almost prefer that over Stafford, but Stafford won't be 5%. Like he's
Yeah.
going to be 2-3%. No one plays
Yeah.
Stafford.
The other thing I think it's important to keep in mind when you do, these so-called vomit stacks or things like that is that, a part of the equation is you do need some of the chalk to miss. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if Josh goes, if Josh or Tua goes out and puts up 45, 50 burgers and stuff, like you didn't get there that week. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of weeks where the winning lineup is, 190 to 205 DraftKings points because stuff didn't smash and go nuclear. And those are the slates where this kind of thing can work on. And those slates happen more often than the field thinks they happen.
For sure. And those are the easiest ways to win.
That's the other thing. It's just
Yeah.
easier to get there in that scenario.
Yeah. It's easier to bet on things to fail than to hit the parlays. Josh, I want to talk just very quickly about Josh Downs, where he's playing a pretty much every down role. But I'm not interested in Anthony Richardson slot receiver as much as I was interested in Gardner Minshew slot receiver. So 3,500, like him versus Calvin Austin. I kind of prefer Calvin Austin there, but I'm not eager about either. I don't think either has the ceiling that you want on a slate that has a lot of ceiling. So, as in stacks, like okay, but I don't think the one-off Downs or Austin, like those are one of those guys that like they get you 12 and you're like, wow, they got me 12. That like great, but
I would like to be very clear that I do not like Colts players at all as one-offs. Like, I only like them in this game stack or in a mini stack where price is important.
I agree. Tampa Bay, New Orleans, I thought we were getting the Jameis Winston revenge game, but it seems like Carr is going to play. I don't know how much we care about that for anything besides like Tampa DST, but yeah, nobody's getting owned here. Totals, only 40 in the dome. I'm always kind of surprised at how low, Saints Bucks games project. I feel like historically we've gotten some shootouts here. Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore. I'll see how many quarters you get out of Mike Evans, but yeah, anything you like in this game?
No, this game is a blind spot for me. I've kind of just turned it off. I mean, Rachaad White stinks and he's getting volume, but you don't want to click that. Evans, you're terrified that he's going to throw a punch and leave after one play.
2% though.
Yeah, I get it. It's just I feel like we see this game every single week. Like it feels so, Kamara never does well against Tampa Bay and it's his first game. And Michael Thomas is still alive and still a PPR monster. He just hasn't gotten into the end zone. He scares me a little bit as one of those 5K guys that like, if he suddenly has some sort of efficiency, you're dead. But
by the time it scores, he's getting 20.
Yeah, true. And then Olave and Rashid Shaheed are like two of my favorite like young receivers in the game, and they're just dead with Hall of Fame miss quarterback Derek Carr because he isn't able to use, like, I don't know. I just hate everything about it.
We talk about it every week. We talk about it every week with Olave. He just like doesn't score. Like how real is that? How much of that is Olave? How much of that is Carr? I don't know. And the scoring expectation is not that great, and you have Kamara back in. So again, like if you like any of the guys here, like you're gonna get them super low owned. I wanted to say that there's like room for Kamara's projection on the upside, right? 15 is like, I wouldn't say conservative, but like we've seen some huge Kamara ceilings. And like, even though, Tony Jones had like good fantasy games because he scored 2 1-yard touchdowns when Jamal was hurt, like Tony Jones is not good. And I don't think the Saints are getting much out of Kendry Miller. So like, would it shock you if Kamara's not coming back from injury. He's not coming back. Like he's been practicing. Yeah. He's healthy. He's ready to go. And I think
the question is now he's getting older. He's lost a step, all that kind of stuff. Here's the story I'm telling myself to cope on just completely skipping this game, which is I can see a bunch of guys like, I could see a world where this game goes over its total and still doesn't matter, like because the ball is kind of spread around. Like Kamara has an okay game, Olave, has an okay game. A tight end catches a touchdown, and it's like just a lot of gross stuff. I don't see any consolidation into a nuclear player.
Yeah, if it were, I do think Kamara has that touchdown upside, and then Evans gets there without much having to go here. But Washington at the Eagles, 43.5 total. Eagles obviously carrying most of that. DeAndre Swift is going to be, a little owned, and he's in that 5,700 price range. And then, you could play anyone else that you want here. Our buddy Philly woke up just to hear us talk about how we're probably going to fade Jalen Hurts unless you want to play Jalen Hurts here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I don't have any hurt stuff. I don't have any. I don't have anything in this game. I am a bit concerned about that though. Um, you know, if you're gonna take a shot with like Hurts double or Hurts skinny and nail a bring back, or I heard someone mention that the Eagles defense gives up quite a bit to tight end, but the problem is that Logan
Yeah.
Thomas is
No, no,
old
no,
and a statue and he's sharing a role. I
no, no,
don't
no.
see how you can click that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles give up a bit on the outside as well. Like obviously Justin Jefferson, Jahan Dotson is not Justin Jefferson. Jahan Dotson might not even be Jahan Dotson at this point. But the Eagles like have given up some big games to receivers. Like outside of Darius Slay, they really don't have much. Like their second best corner, James Bradbury, has kicked inside.
I'll be
So
honest with you
yeah,
though, that could be noisy, dude. Like the Eagles are not in real games. Like,
right.
you know what I mean?
And
Like
it's
they get
unlikely
out
to
to
lose anymore,
leads and
right?
stuff, and then they'll play, cover zero and blah blah.
Right,
They're
right.
willing to give up some stuff on the outside, so that could be
Yeah,
noisy as well.
yeah. So if you're playing, like I do like the prices. I think the price and ownerships are just obviously very good for Dotson McLaurin. Obviously not as one-offs. I'd rather play it with the Hertz stuff. Also, if you're saying like Hertz gets there, he's likely either A, running in multiple touchdowns, or B, this game is more competitive than anyone thinks. So I do think you want to probably anchor Hertz lineups with, McLaurin or Dotson. Um, and yeah, AJ Brown, like people have swung the pendulum all the way back to AJ Brown. Probably rightfully so, like squeaky wheel stuff. Has the wheel been greased and he's good? And now does like Devontae Smith
Yeah, I
at
mean,
less than 1%, but like AJ Brown
it's
is
going to be
5%, like
different.
that's fine. Who cares?
It's going to be difficult in the wide receiver room in the team meeting to watch yourself drop 3 touchdown passes and say, "No, I need more."
Yeah.
Like he got his volume bump, and you know, I expected to go from there.
If the line moved, I don't think we need to talk too much about it. It looks like the line is moving again. Deshaun Watson didn't throw a pass over 10 yards in his pregame warmup, but this is like they do like 3 pregame warmups, dude. It's like 2.5 hours before the game.
Also, if
Um,
I was the Browns coach, I would tell him to do that. Like,
yeah, DTR is 4,600. It's yeah. Look at there. Like if he ends up, let's circle back to DTR. After we talk about AOC because they're surprisingly related. Cincinnati, Tennessee, only a 41-point total here. Jamar Chase and not much else going on here. There's one thing that I like. I think you like as well. But talk to me about this game.
yeah, no, this is a game that, like, if Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow, which nobody knows if Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow, and that's the problem with this game because Tennessee is a pass funnel defense. Like, you're going to be able to roll out Joe Burrow doubles and bring it back with Hopkins, who has no other receivers, or Chig or Derrick Henry,
Yeah.
and nobody else is going to have it. Like, it's not going to be owned. Like,
Yeah. I think people
if
might
you
play some Burrow, but probably just with Chase because it's going to be hard
right,
to
but if
allocate
you
big
throw in
salary.
Tanner Hudson with that, or if you throw T
Oh,
Higgins
yeah.
with that, and
I like that
if
a
you bring
lot.
it back with specifically Derrick Henry,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like
You play all the
if
chalk around that.
now again, you mean you might score 30 points with your game stack on this because Joe Burrow has not looked like Joe Burrow, but the calf sleeve came off, right? And Tennessee's defense is real bad. But
Yeah.
the other thing about that is sometimes Vrabel, like Tennessee's one of those teams that they play good when they're not supposed to play good, and they look shitty
I think
when
they win this game.
they should roll.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I'm just gonna say this: I have a few Burrow double stacks out there, and I do think that this game is interesting.
Yeah. I actually really like the Tanner Hudson with Burrow double call.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, dude, Burrow has not been Burrow, but he had 41 attempts against the Ravens and 49 against the Rams. I mean, the 49 resulted in 259 and 0 touchdowns, but like they want to pass. Like Mixon is one of those guys that like on paper is going to look great. Like I'm going to ignore him. I'm going to feel bad about it. Like one time this year, Mixon is going to have 30 points and I'll feel bad I didn't play him, whatever. But the guy that I really like in this game the most, relatively, is Tyler Boyd. So 4,100. So Tyler
Yep.
Boyd, I saw a tweet, I forget from who. Tyler Boyd leads the NFL in routes run from the slot. Granted, part that's because they've been passing the ball a lot, but Tyler Boyd is, they're obviously their primary slot receiver, and the Titans have given up a whole lot of production, a lot of it underneath. So again, Tyler Boyd is going to be, he checks a lot of leverage boxes. He's leverage off of Palmer drink, because I said that like 18 times. And B, leverage a little bit off of Chase. So like a Burrow double with Chase and Boyd is great. Boyd just like as a one-off, getting off of a little bit of chalk. And I think like Boyd like every year has a couple, like he's the profile that it's like, oh, he's not going to spike, not going to spike, not going to spike. And then he spikes like twice
Right.
or once.
Right.
So yeah, like I really like Boyd.
Yeah, you called that earlier in the week, and I really like it, especially because of his price to Josh Palmer.
Yeah, no, he's just invisible here, and I like Tanner Hudson. And then again, obligatory like Derrick Henry. I'm a little more worried about Derrick Henry than I was before the season, but again, like look at this split, like 15 and 8. So again, like Spears has actually gotten like a pretty meaningful role, but if the Titans are competitive in this game, I think Derrick Henry, like it's a Lamar thing. You just play Derrick Henry at 3%, doesn't matter the matchup, whatever. He's at home, so. Chargers at home against the Raiders, 48.5 point total here. Chargers 6.5 point favorites. We talked about this game a lot, so I'll let you you get the first crack at it.
That's a pick six right there. I'm not on this game outside of Keenan Allen. Originally, I wanted to get cute with Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston kind of stuff, which I'm sure that some of the other sharps were looking at doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that now with Aiden O'Connell, though. I think that Aiden O'Connell changes the game plan for the Chargers in terms of ceilings. Playing quarterback in the NFL is hard, especially as a rookie that's never played. I know he's 25 years old, blah, 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 but he is a statue. And, I just don't know that Herbert can get there at his price with Keenan Allen and in this type of a game flow. I'm much more interested in Josh Jacobs now because his role has been good. He just hasn't been efficient. He hasn't done much with it, but the Chargers are a spot where that could change because he's a talented running back who, wants to make money. So, So I'm mainly going to have like Keenan, Josh Jacobs kind of stuff going here. But not much interest outside of that.
Let me see if they've updated ownership. We've got Jacobs at 17 now. Like I think Jacobs' ownership only is coming down. Let me see if I can update this just real quick.
Well, I'm just gonna IKB here, dude. Josh Jacobs not gonna be owned. Just forget about it.
17. Yeah, I think he's gonna be like closer to like 12 to 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 to 12. So yeah.
Oh, O'Connell up to 9%. So yeah, like O'Connell, like I don't love him in cash, but I think in GPP, like I want to lean in here. Like if people are gonna play like a skinny O'Connell, like I just want to play O'Connell with a whole bunch of stuff, and lean in and say like he's gonna have a good enough game, but also exactly where it's going. It's not going to Austin Hooper. It's not going to Hunter Renfrow. It's not going to Amir Abdullah. It's going to Adams. First,
I think it would shock zero people if the Chargers just found a way to give up a bunch of fucking offense to the Raiders and a rookie quarterback. Like that would shock no one, right?
No, I mean the Chargers defense is very banged up, and it's bad before that. And like their home field advantage is not really anything.
Sussy coaching.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like, to me, with Devontae Adams at 12%, like the efficiency might be worse in Aiden O'Connell offense. Like it likely will be, but I think Adams goes from like a 30-35% target share guy to a guy who might get 40 to 50. I think they're just going to simplify, like get the ball in Devontae Adams' hands. Maybe this looks really bad if the Chargers just like completely blow them out, but I think like the Raiders are gonna get a couple hundred yards of offense probably against this Chargers defense, and I think it's almost all gonna go through Adams first and Jacob second. And then I really like Josh Kelly. The Chargers are, 27.5 points is just as much as it's been the last 2 weeks. Keenan Allen is the highest owned he's been the last 2 weeks. And Josh Kelly, you're getting Josh Kelly at like a quarter of the ownership. Again, Josh Kelly's bad. Josh Kelly doesn't catch passes. I get all of that, but he's 9% with great leverage. So I really like Josh Kelly too.
Yikes.
You don't like Josh Kelly?
I don't. Yeah. I don't even want to talk about Josh Kelly.
I think you got to play Myers too if you're all over AOC. Yeah, I mean, Myers he's not going to be 7%, dude. Nobody at this, like, if you're going to play AOC, I think people will. It's to pay up.
Yeah. No, you're for sure right. Yeah. AOC doubles are not going to happen. Yeah. So if you do it, you'll be the guy that did it.
Yep. And then Quentin Johnson and Gerald Everett at 5% are objectively good plays. Versus
agreed.
Also, Herbert, by the way, is, they're very different price ranges. I get it. But Herbert's going to be 5%. AOC is going to be 10. Herbert's like really good.
Ritter's thrown back-to-back picks.
Is this 6-2 or no?
No.
Okay. Here's a little catch me up game because we can use it. I think we're running. We're very excited about this slate. Cowboys huge favorites. Tony Pollard. That's it. Ooh, DTR confirmed.
Yeah. Wow.
Right, see if we can get projection. We'll get back to DTR. But yeah. Do you like Tony Pollard in this game?
No, I don't. I don't like Tony Pollard. You could have ended there. The only thing I have to say about this game is they let me as a top underdog VIP get Ezekiel Elliott over 7.5 rush attempts. Smash that shit. You know they're going to let him run the ball against them. Outside of that, no thanks. A hard pass on this game. I saw a narrative about CeeDee Lamb playing out of the slot and the Patriots struggling with the slot, and I think that matters none. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, Lamb is going to be like so low owned. I'm going to start no lineups with Pollard, but I think if people are like, again, this 17, I think 17 is closer to the high end for him. I think Pollard's going to be like 12. To be honest, most of my lineups are going to have CMC in them. And then if things go wrong, I'm just going to have to flip that over to Pollard and,
Yeah, that I understand.
Matchup, but
yeah.
So yeah, I'm waiting to see. I really hope that we can get a DTR projections update because 4,600 versus the O'Connell 4K. But yeah, that's pretty much all of it for this game. Ramondre on paper at 6,200, like maybe, but I don't know. IKB Zeke is gonna get the goal line stuff. And then last but not least, Cardinals at 49ers, 43.5 point total. The Cardinals are carrying only a third of that. Everything is on the San Francisco side. It seems like everyone is going to play here. I mean, except for Eli Mitchell. So it makes the pass game stuff a little less interesting because it's not as concentrated. But do you like anything here besides CMC?
I don't. I want to. I'm very scared. Okay, the Arizona Cardinals have been playing really, really well. Like they're clearly like competently coached football team that is just like people think we're tanking. No, we're making decisions that we think are putting us in the best chance to compete, and we're seeing that now for 3 weeks. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't expect them to go out and beat San Francisco, but nobody thought they'd go out and beat Dallas. I'm just going to say this: if Arizona finds a way to push San Francisco to win in the fourth quarter, San Francisco to pull it out in the fourth, then this game is going to be a real problem. You're going to need to have had Purdy, CMC, and the guy that did the other stuff, whether that's Kittle, Ayuk, or Samuel. A case can be made for each of them. I don't think Purdy would carry two of them. But Purdy, CMC, and one of those guys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying CMC has to, in that case where they get pushed, CMC is one of the guys. So you have to nail the Ayuk or the Samuel or the Kittle, and you have to get the Arizona bring back piece right. In that scenario where they push them into the fourth quarter. So I don't know. I'm not playing it, but I am scared of it.
Yeah. I want to play Purdy. I was hoping in a strange way that one of Debo or Ayuk was out, and I'd be more interested in Purdy. But
Same.
Purdy, Purdy himself becomes better with everyone in. It's just harder to nail who it's going to be. Um,
Right.
so I think on my O'Connell teams, I wrote about this on Frentech. Shout out if anyone wants to buy my bags, you don't have to. I don't care. If you start with what this a lot, but bear with me. If you start a team with AOC, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Gerald Everett, and CMC, um, they combined for 32.7K and 90 points. If you swap that to Purdy, Jacobs, Ayuk, Kittle, and Pollard, um, it's a similar salary, and you leave 5 points of projection on the table. So point being, if you like early on you fuck up and you have like a chalk Chargers thing, getting off of CMC to Pollard, and then you lean in on like it's like Debo is banged up, and I'm gonna play through Ayuk and Kittle is something that I really like. So it's not my plan A,
Yeah.
but I think Purdy is going to be very low owned, and the 49ers are projected to score 4 touchdowns. So I really like that, and I think it's leverage off of McCaffrey. I think a lot of people are going to play DTR. They're going to play O'Connell. So at 15, and like people are going to play Russ. So I think Brock Purdy at 5,900. It's pretty good.
Love it.
I am waiting. I'm trying to like not have this run all the way to lock. Thanks everyone for joining, but I'm trying to see if we can get a DTR projections update before anything. Let me just like override something real quick. If you want to get your fuck around and find out, play.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of alluded to it earlier, but this week I am definitely fucking around, and I am definitely going to find out about Matt Stafford double stacks.
Yeah.
Specifically Matt Stafford and Tutu and Puka Nakua, who I think last week we saw a floor game that was still a decent game. And if that guy gets into the end zone and Tutu goes long, bring it back with, that's not part of my FAFO. For me, it's either Downs or Granson. But the Matt Stafford double, that is where I'm going to be fucking around today.
Yeah. For me, dude, O'Connell was going to be 2%, then he was going to be 5%, then he's going to be 10%, then he was going to be 15%. But now we have DTR at 4,600. Yeah,
Do you know what I just decided? Where is that ownership going to come from?
It's coming from Russ.
It's coming from Russ. Russ just became the absolute fucking play of the slate, in my opinion, because of these two values opening up. Russ is an absolute smash.
Yeah, I'm leaning in. Maybe call me stubborn. If DTR steals some of AOC's ownership, I think DTR, like his rushing stuff is there, but I'm just gonna play. If you can let me get away with 3 to 5% owned AOC with Devontae, I think Devontae is my guy on this slate. At 12%, his ceiling is legitimately as high as anyone in the world, just from like a volume perspective. And I think he has a real good path to 50+% target share. And like a little bonus would be playing the San Francisco side of the passing game with Kittle. I'm just going to play the Debo is active, but not really active, and playing Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle with Pollard as like a CMC kind of leverage.
And I'll put myself on the record that I do think AOC is an interesting play that has way more upside. I think DTR is an absolute donkey play. Like, you cannot play DTR. I don't see how a ceiling could exist, but
yeah,
I'm just putting myself on the record.
Yeah, I mean, I penciled DTR in, and we'll sign off with this. I gave him like a little less than Deshaun stuff, and he pops up about 8% optimal here. I think I would play it naked or like max one. I like if DTR gets there, it's going to be through rushing. I don't think the ceiling in this game environment, like Cleveland has not installed the DTR game plan. I think that like
Exactly.
so I don't think that they're. I think if anything, Jerome Ford becomes a little more interesting at 5,400, but I'm not super interested um, in like jamming this. But we'll see. We'll
I
see
think
what
this just
the
confirms
projections
that
are.
Baltimore Cleveland is going to be a slogfest that you don't want to be
Yeah,
involved in.
yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Yeah, bump for Ford. We'll be back in all likelihood this time next week. Good luck and leave some money for Showdown.
Bye.